the more disciplined you are with a task, and all discipline means is that you know what you're going to do, when you're going to do it, and you've got a system for doing that, in my opinion, right? You look at that all the time in business, but when it comes to our health, we just assume that our head hits a pillow so we sleep well. Oh yeah, fall asleep pretty easy, but there's a million different things we can look at in terms of your sleep and your schedule and everything else. You assume you're not stressed because your blood's not boiling every minute of every day, and you're not, shouting at people in traffic or snapping at your kids, but that doesn't mean there's not stress there. Could you be doing something better? And people just don't look at the data around their health. They just assume I'm healthy because I'm functioning, I'm alive. I wake up and I'm breathing and I'm healthy. But that's not always the case,
I want to speak to all the audience, the profound impact that this has had on my life and how I show up as a business owner. If I look back, oh my gosh, like when your health is in a valley of despair and you're trying to show up as a leader and you're trying to lead, and like you say, the days are full on. Like, I hate the word busy, but it's busy, right? Because I think when you're in the best version of yourself, you're kind of giving the best to your team or your husband, wife, your kids, or whatever the case may be. Hello and welcome to the Real Biz Life Chronicles, where we discuss all things business, branding and life from the Horizon Digital podcast recording studio here in Perth. I'm your host, Tracy Fryer, the founder of Design Studio Perth. And because Design Studio Perth is dedicated to helping business owners grow with distinction through captivating branding and design, we're offering all our listeners a free brand discovery. So if you find yourself frustrated with your current branding and marketing and aren't too sure where to next, use a link in the show notes below to book in a time to have a chat. Now, I don't know about you, but I find the best conversations are had over a great cup of coffee. And so the coffee for each episode of the Real Biz Life Chronicles is brewed for us by no other than the legends at Cuppa Cartel. They're fueling great conversations, one cuppa at a time. Now, the Real Biz Life Chronicles is on a mission to become one of Australia's leading business podcasts, but in order to do that, we please need your help. If you do enjoy today's episode, we please ask that you like and subscribe to our channels below, or simply share this episode with a fellow business owner who is doing one of the hardest things in the world, building a business. Now, if there is a question you'd like us to ask our guests, please feel free to pop it in the comments section below, or simply send us an email at info@therealbizlifechronicles.com. What do you do when your body starts lagging behind your ambition? He was meant to be a teacher, Evan had a postgrad offer in hand, but life rerouted him. From sports science to gym floors, from gym floors to boardrooms, he built a business that now works with high-level professionals across Australia to help them get their edge back, physically, mentally, and professionally. He doesn't sell motivation, he delivers metrics. His company, The Elite Executive, is grounded in science, tracking sleep data, cognitive load, stress patterns, and performance outcomes that actually stick. And through his podcast, The Elite Executive, he's pulling back the curtain on what it really takes to sustain excellence under pressure. He's coached over 1,000 driven professionals, but even with the credentials and client results, he knows the tension of growth. The challenge of staying deeply personal in a business that keeps scaling. The weight of being the go-to guy for everyone else while raising a family and building a brand rooted in discipline. People close to him call him driven, direct, and unfiltered. Outside work, you'll find him under a barbell, deep into a podcast, which I had the pleasure of being a guest on yesterday, or shouting at a Manchester United game with more intensity than most people bring to their work. This episode isn't about hacks or six-packs. It's about discipline, identity, and the cost of staying sharp in a world that never slows down. I have no doubt that you're going to love this one. Odhran McCorry, welcome to the show.
Thank you. What an intro. I love that.
Of course, you're welcome. Odhran, I think for our listeners, what would be a good kickoff? Walk us through, how is it that you work with professionals?
I guess it's a culmination of what is now 21 years in the fitness industry, working multiple roles, multiple education routes, going through multiple styles of coaching myself. But the real catalyst for me in terms of working with busy professionals and executives and corporations was going through my own sort of transformation. So around COVID time, obviously we were bored and we were locked down in home and we're training from home with bands and dumbbells and just not the same as my usual bodybuilding, physique building style training. So coming out the back of that, once we did get out of the lockdown, I said, well, listen, I'm in a fitness-based business. Let's be honest, sex sells. Like, let's try to get as lean as I can and document the whole process, like through Instagram, through a little bit on YouTube, and just talk about how I'm progressing, what I'm doing with training, and include some clips and nutrition stuff and all that, and just really document the process. And in the process of doing that, we signed up clients. So I've got clients all over the world, and there were some people in Asia who were going to do a photo shoot on the same weekend, some in the UK. And there was a group who did the same photo. We booked the same photographer for the full day. So they did a shoot with me for, say, an hour and a half in the morning. And then my clients came in, and like maybe 6 or 7 guys and girls all came in to do a photo shoot.
Okay, great.
So this was great marketing, and it was great team building and everything, and we documented the whole thing. But along the way, that was the leanest I've ever got. And it's pretty hard on the body. Like when you go to a level that you haven't been before, like I've been relatively lean and I've done photo shoots, but I says we're going full send mode. This is being documented. I have to lead from the front.
Yeah.
So I also couldn't pull out of it, right?
No.
So along the way, I started to notice that around that sort of 4 to 8 week mark out, energy started to dip. Calories were really low. Cardio was high. I was weight training. I was still PTing in the gym at the time. Plus I had the online business with like 50 clients plus, you know, say 30 to 50 sessions a week, depending on the week. And for lack of a better word, I sort of burnt out. I was like low energy. I don't think clients noticed, and my family probably didn't notice, but I knew there was a level that I like to maintain in terms of my output, you know, across the board, physical goals, professional goals, personal goals. And I just wasn't ticking those boxes. And I vividly remember we lived in Scarborough at the time, and our firstborn was born in 2019, so just before COVID. And she started to walk early, like say at 10 months she was walking around.
Wow.
So by the time she was 18 months, she was like kicking a ball around at a very slow pace and all that. But I remember walking down with my wife. I'd finished work in the gym. I'd trained. I'd maybe did a bit of client work, or a bit more to do that evening. But we went down to the local park, and it was down a relatively steep hill. And I was just gassed.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting down on the grass, and my wife was kicking the ball around with my little one. And I was just like, I am done here. Like, I can't get out. I can't even do it. I'm just so tired. And I had one meal left, I think, at that stage, which was probably like protein and veggies at that stage. And I still had cardio to do, whether that was 30 minutes, 40 minutes,
On the
60
same
minutes,
day?
on the same day that evening.
Right.
So I was like, well, I really need to conserve my energy now.
Yeah.
And then I thought, that's not good enough. That's not the dad I want to be. That's not the man I want to be. That's not, yes, there's a goal and I can't back out of that. But there had to be a balance where physically you're feeling good. Maybe not your leanest, but definitely not overweight or anything. You're ticking all boxes in terms of your mental performance and your mood, your energy, your drive for work. And all these things live together. And I was quite lucky. I'd been wearing the Oura ring for about a year or two prior. So I had this bank of data. I was able to look at my metrics like, you know, resting heart rate and HRV and sleep. And resting heart rate was great because I was doing lots of cardio. So my resting heart rate, which is normally quite good, was in a good spot. But my HRV tanked versus that. I was waking up in the middle of the night, you know, hungry, tired, lean. My sleep was being affected. And that was just all across the board. I was just done. But I had to see it through to the end, which I did. And then I thought there has to be a better way. Like, I'm looking at this data. Where's the sweet spot for me personally? Like, where does these metrics come back up where I am in a good spot personally, professionally, and physically? And where does that balance lie for me? And I find that balance, you know, in this maybe 8 weeks after that, really looking at the data, really tracking what I did with my food and my sleep and everything else. And then I thought, I feel like I've found my spot now. Can I find my clients? So I worked with clients in the gym who, I guess we've solely went down the executive route since then, because I realized that a lot of my clients were entrepreneurs, were executives, they worked for big corporations. I just thought of them as weight loss or muscle building clients.
Yeah.
So it was a couple of guys who I was like, listen, you're PTing with me, say, twice a week. What about if we monitor your nutrition? What if you get an Apple Watch or a Fitbit or a Ring or whatever these bands are, Garmin, doesn't really matter. What if you get whichever one you want, and I will look at your sleep data, I'll look at your HRV and see if we can replicate what I've just done, looking at the data and getting to their sweet spot. Not that it has to be the same as mine, but what is their sweet spot? And then we did it with one guy, and he said, this is great. And, oh, great, how, like, is it impacting you at work? yeah, I feel great. Like I feel like I'm confident walking into meetings, with say big multinational organizations trying to win contracts. I'm confident because I feel lean, I feel sharp, I feel motivated. Okay, physically, I can see you're in good shape because we see each other every week. I know that your body fat's dropping and your muscles improving and you're taking those goals. And I was like, cool, can we do this with another one and another one? And then we just went down that route of data-driven, science-based approach. But it was all led from me sort of hitting rock bottom and knowing where I want to be across the board as a man, and then taking that same approach to our clients, whether they are male or female, but taking that, well, where do you want to be? Where's the sweet spot for you? Do you feel like you've taken a bit of a step back in your performance and how you feel because you have been so career driven for so long that you put yourself last? And then how can we reverse that and get you to a better spot? And then over time, we sort of moved towards more of the longevity piece. So it's not just how do you look and feel now, but how can we look at that data and create trends and look at the behaviors and the habits so that you can live longer and you can live better. And that's where we are now.
And did you say you worked as a personal trainer before COVID?
Yes. So PT since my degree in 2009. I pretty much did personal training for say 11 years there. And then we've been doing online now since 2014 as well. So I had that blend of both. But I moved away from the personal training side because while it's very impactful, I just seen that our online system was getting better results for the people that we were targeting, and it's less time intensive in the gym, so you can do things for them faster essentially if you need something done, because you're not with a client for 45 minutes and missing text messages and everything else.
And so your business started during COVID, a bit like mine. Did you have the idea for some time, or did you kind of just, it came to mind and you kind of just executed it? Or
I guess it was multiple versions. So like it's always been a fitness business, in Ireland, and then I moved to Glasgow and then moved over here in 2018 and was doing PT and online coaching, but it was just Team OMC coaching was like Oren's team of clients and staff that, were in the fitness game, and it was very much physical, like getting people in their best shape, like getting people ready for bodybuilding shows or or photo shoots or things like that, how to take people to their peak. And then it was like just like a slight rebrand. It was like, cool, if this is our market and this is where I see we've got the most value, how do we then pivot and what does that look like? And it maybe took a while. We were working with executives for a few years before we eventually rebranded as the Elite Executive. But I feel like we're in such a sweet spot in the market where we can have such impact through a whole organization as a result of that little pivot, and realizing where our true power lay.
And because branding is my wheelhouse, I'd love to know what impact has the rebrand had? Because I think a lot of business owners fear rebranding. So I'd love for you to share.
Yeah, well, we needed a name that matched what we did, right? Team OMC is, it was a company name, right? But it didn't really give an idea of it. And you could put, like, the logo was just two lean looking silhouettes there with Team OMC around. Then we rebranded to the Elite Executive. We didn't really have a logo. What we did have, which I got drawn up, was this idea of like a cartoon, which was based off a photo of me from a photo shoot back years ago. But it was like a man half in a suit, but half my silhouette of me lean.
I think I did see that on your, I think I have seen it. Yeah.
And then the current branding, so she probably won't mind me saying this, but Ashley from Zero to Hero. Yeah. We were at the 40 Under 40 Awards 2 years ago, and she was going to be a podcast guest, and I hadn't met her yet, so I got one of our mutual friends to be like, oh, by the way, this is Odhran, I know you're going to go on the podcast. Great. And she was like, we need to talk about something, man, like, that cartoon, it's just very alienating for females, and it's something I probably knew in the back of my mind, and I was like, yes, I like it. It's an aspirational image for a guy, but it didn't really fit. So he said, you need, like, the name's good, everything else is good, like, it just needs to be a better, and it wasn't even a logo, it was just like a cartoon, but it was used all over all of our website and everything we sort of did. So then we went back to the drawing board. I hired a new graphic designer that I found, and was like, it needs to be simple. It needs to encapsulate the professional side of everything. If I had known who you were at the time, I might have picked you up, So
I won't hold it against you.
But I think it's, if you get, and it's the same whether it's taking fitness advice from somebody or business advice or branding advice. if there's a point there, and if there is something that can be done about it, and it can be done in a way that, is going to elicit positive results, why would you not just pay somebody to deliver it? And in terms of like the brand is a lot more clean. It's uniform. It's gender. It's not gender specific in any sort of way.
Yeah.
And it's just more welcoming. But I think it might be scary to do that. But like I say, if there's an ROI at the end of it and there's a positive of that, why wouldn't you do that?
Yeah. So I think the stats say that when it's done properly, so bearing in mind that brand is, messaging, words and visuals, you get instantly a 25 to 40%, better ROI on things. So it definitely is rewarding as well.
Yeah.
And I'd love to know, where do you find most business owners go wrong with their health, or what's kind of the roadblock that they have in kind of, I guess, making health more part of their lifestyle?
Number one, like that's a hard one to say, because I could talk for hours about
Please,
this, really.
Go for it.
The first thing is probably in identifying there's a problem, and we get a lot of people who do that, right? People see our ads, which we pay a lot on LinkedIn to be in front of the right people, and a lot of people inquire. A lot of people maybe jump on a sales call, and I'm one of those type of people. I'm not like high pressure. It's either the right time or it's not. Like I'll give you some free advice or some free resources if you don't sign up anyway.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, man, like you're talking to them and they're like, there's a clear problem here, whether it's a family history of serious issues, cardiovascular issues, metabolism issues, just general poor health, like things that could be reversed. And sometimes those are the people who are like, yeah, it sounds great, but I'm not going to do this. Like that feeling of, I know what I need to do, I just need to do it. The problem is you're not doing it, and you won't do it just by having a conversation with me, because you still got the same career, you still got the same issues, you still got the same Dr. Google, like where you're just trying to diagnose everything yourself, rather than just getting a structured plan and just saying, yeah, I'm gonna take the hit. And yes, there's an investment involved, same with my rebrand, but there is an ROI on the other side of that, of getting your time back, getting everything back. And I think probably the biggest thing is this thought of, I know what I need to do, I just need to go and do it. Yeah, I know how to look at a spreadsheet and do my accounts. That doesn't mean that I don't have an accountant and a bookkeeper, because that's just tedious and boring to me, and I'd rather not do that. That doesn't mean that, if I needed some help with the podcast or some rebrands or anything like that, I wouldn't hire a professional like you to do that. And these people are often high up in their job. They don't do everything for the organization, whether they're the CEO, whether they're the head of a division or whatever. They've got people who work with them, because that frees up their time and their energy to do other things. But they don't take that, and they think they should be able to do it all. And I just need to get control of this rather than spend money in the right places, if that makes sense.
It does, yeah.
And that, I guess, that inability to let go of that control of, yes, I know what I need to do, but they're not realizing that they're not doing it, and they probably won't do it in a way that's going to get them where they want to go as fast as they want to go,
Do you find, and I'm just reflecting on my own health journey as we spoke about yesterday on your podcast, do you find you get those that don't realize they have a problem? Like, because for me, I thought I was fine. Like, I was like, meh, like I said, all the excuses one has. Do you find you kind of get those people that are like, no, I'm fine, I'm all good, like?
Yeah, a lot of the time, like we stay in contact with people until they literally say, like, don't contact us anymore. Like, we'll give them a call every couple of months and be like, hey, you either had a call with us or we never spoke with you. Like, how's your health going? And a lot of the times it's, yeah, I'm good. But if you actually diagnosed it, it would be, yeah, what's going on under the surface? Why did you initially do that? Why are you interested? Like, I've got somebody in my inbox now, and I'm not going to name names, obviously, but it's a guy from America, and he reached out like, oh, this sounds good, I want some help. And then he's backtracked. He's like, I need to do it by myself. I'll just try this for 4 weeks.
It's kind of receded.
And then I went back and was like, how are you? It's been about 4 weeks. Just checking in. Is there anything I can send you? Any resources? How are you going? And he started to talk now about, I'm going in the right direction. I think I'm learning about insulin. And I'm like, I haven't said this to him yet, but you don't need to learn about insulin. You need to get a plan that you can follow for training and nutrition. And yes, if you want to learn about what happens with your insulin as you're losing the weight, great. But you need the plan first that is going to then deliver that. I think too many people get stuck in the weeds because, like they say, like that guy, this sounds really great, but I'm just going to hold off and try to do it for 4 weeks. And then 4 weeks becomes 4 months. And I had a consistent, again, a message with a guy from Perth here, where every 6 months I would send him a message and saying, hey, mate, how are you? And he would send me the same message back, nearly word for word. He said, I'm still stressed and I'm still fat.
See.
And it was the same, it's as if he copied and pasted it every time. And I'm like, cool, can I send you anything? Like, do you want to have a chat on a call? Like, no obligation or no sales tactics. Let's just see if I can help you. And he still hasn't done anything about it. And he might have done it with somebody else by now. But if I send him a message in 6 months and he's still sending me the same response, that's a sign that something is broken and something's not going to just magically click into place, right?
No, nothing changes if nothing changes. So, yeah. And I think sometimes that scariest step is taking that first step to acknowledge, 1, I'm overweight, and 2, I need to do something about it.
Yeah.
And 3, I need to honor the plan to actually make it happen.
Of course, yeah.
And what I want to touch on is the actual time frame, because I think a lot of people, we want these quick fixes, we want to lose the 10 kilo, quite quickly. Realistically, a health journey, it's a lifestyle change, right?
Sure.
If someone is extremely overweight, what is the time frame that they're looking at? Is it like 6 months, a year? Like, what's the commitment one has to make in order to see those results?
Yeah, I guess that, again, depends. It's a terrible answer, which every coach is probably going to say. It depends. Like, you had 22 kilos to lose, right? That may take you 6 months. It might take you 6 weeks. It might take you 18 months. Everyone's going to be individual. We've had guys who've lost 30 kilos in 6 months.
Wow.
We've had guys and girls who will probably lose 5 kilos, but they could look rapidly different, in terms of they lose fat, but they build muscle in its place. So they're the same scale weight near enough, but they look completely different. And some people who life gets in the way and like they still lose, but not at the rate that they would want because they're traveling and because they can't put all those pieces as well together. And obviously, like Matt, who lost the 30 kilos in 6 months, was like an outlier.
Jeez.
But it shows you what's possible when you get all this stuff in. And sometimes, like, to go back to the previous point, I remember when I spoke with Matt, it took 2 calls to get him across the line, and we split the payment up into multiple things just because I was like, let's do what needs to be done. And he knew he needed to do it. But then once he actually committed and said, I'm going to do this, it was a massive lifestyle change. And like, that just shows you how on the other side of that fear and that, I can do this myself, is a lot of change, because he's now lost 30 kilos and he's kept most of it off,
Wow. And no gastric band or anything like that.
No, it's just training, nutrition. And he'd never been in a gym before. And he literally, like, he's been on my podcast before, so he wouldn't mind me saying, but like, he was so fresh with it all that he went to a gym, and he said it was a Snap Fitness or whatever, and he went to walk out. I found out the membership, and he went to walk out, and he was like, I'm going to check out one down the road, like, say if he wants to go to Good Life around the corner. And he got to the front door again, and he was like, oh, fuck it, I need to just go back in and sign up, because if I don't sign up now, I'm going to go down the road and then I'm going to have 2 options, and then I'm going to toss and turn over what's the right decision, and I just need to take action.
Yeah.
And that went from like, yep, he wasn't ready, and it took those couple of calls over a couple of weeks to make sure he was in the right place mentally. And then when he did, it was like, go.
Yeah.
And you can't always get that. But we deliberately work with people in 6-month blocks now. That's the only what we offer, because 12 months is only for the extreme outliers. If you got 22 kilos to lose like you did, you might say, well, 12 months, I want to do it more realistically. Let's do the 12. 12 weeks is too short, because we can get people, like Matt lost 19, I can't remember the exact numbers, but it was in the teens, like say 17 or 19 kilos in his first 12 weeks.
Yeah, right.
So that was life changing for him, right? But he still had more to go.
Yeah.
Like, we can get great results in 12 weeks. The problem that I have after that is that what happens to the individual when they go off, because it's enough to get the result. It's not enough to really make it stick. And like I say, what we want to do is have it where short term and long term, with us in the picture and after, you can go off and do this by yourself.
And sustain
the habits and do it in that sort of a way. So we said, wouldn't it be great if everyone just did 6 months? And I'm like, well, why can't we do that? So we scrapped the 12 week, we scrapped the 12 month. And because our 6 month was a decent price for what we do, we said, well, not everyone can afford that, and we really want to get as many people in the 6 month as we can and have this impact on people. So let's lower the price a little bit and bring that price down so that it is a bit more affordable for people. but that the 6 months seems like, okay, this is a really solid time frame to achieve
Yeah,
this, and then
that's a good time
also
frame.
like let us teach you how to manage it when we exit the picture, you know.
Yeah. I found with my weight loss, probably, that first 12 weeks, I lost, I think it was about 10 kilos. The majority of the weight I lost then. Then it kind of plateaued, and that was the thing, just kept doing what I was doing. Then I lost more, and then it plateaued, and then it kind of like every phase. And then obviously the closer you get to your goal weight, the harder it is to shed those last few kilos. So yeah, definitely the 6-month commitment is a great idea. Owen, why do you think some people struggle to invest money in themselves? So like investing in what you guys do, or, putting their health first?
It's hard to give a blanket answer, but first thing that came to my mind was guilt. Like, say, for example, it costs $3,000, $5,000, $10,000, whatever it costs for a program. Unless you've got a lot of spare change there that's sitting there like, hey, I can put $3,000, $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 into myself. Like, unless you got that quote unquote fuck you money, like where it's just sitting there for anything, like it's hard to sometimes invest that. It feels very selfish, nearly like, oh, well, that could be a family holiday, or that could be a bag.
Or mortgage payment.
Exactly. But it's also thinking about how bad is the situation. Yes, you could buy your wife a handbag for $5,000, or you could go on a holiday to Bali for $5,000. But neither of them move you closer to being more confident, having more energy, being in a better mood, being that better husband, father sort of figure in the male sense, or a better wife and, more present mother. And sometimes these things happen. And some people say, oh, what do you mean more present? Like that's common with the people we speak to. They're so career driven, and they give so much to their job between the hours of 8 and 6 or 9 to 5 or whatever it is, that they get home in the evening and they are absolutely wiped, and they want to spend time with their kids. Maybe they still do spend time with their kids, but they're not fully present there.
No.
And maybe if they are a little bit present, they're also very prone to stress, so the kids can break the camel's back. And that's not to say I'm perfect. I sometimes snap at my kids and I get very stressed, and I'm human, right? I don't have all my own shit worked out. But people get tired of that. And I think the ones who take action on themselves get the best results. The ones who just realize, like, listen, success loves speed. I'm not happy where I am. This isn't me being selfish, but this is me putting myself first and doing some behavior change so that I can be better for my wife and kids. Because the kids and the wife don't need that holiday to Bali. They need you to be at your best. And whether that's a male figure or a female figure, we talk to both of them, and it's the same across the board. I speak when I'm on a podcast like this to the male, because I am a male, right? So and we probably talk to more males, but the same problem exists, and it's just how can you be your absolute best at home, at work, and in your own head? Because we live in our head, like we're there 24/7. So the conversation in there had better be a damn good one, And if there is something going on, it's worth that mental side to then say, if I just do this and take action on this and actually follow through on the plan, let's just get it done. Because it's short term, it's money, yes, it's time, it's effort, but it's not going to completely rewire your week. It's working within what you've got available, time-wise, energy-wise, everything else, to get the biggest return on investment. And to be honest, we all eat. We all move our body in some sort of way. We just need to get a bit more deliberate with it a lot of the time.
Yeah, so being more intentional. I want to speak to all the audience, the profound impact that this has had on my life and how I show up as a business owner. If I look back, oh my gosh, like when your health is in a valley of despair and you're trying to show up as a leader and you're trying to lead, and like you say, the days are full on. Like, I hate the word busy, but it's busy, right? And sometimes you get home, I mean, I've got dogs, not kids, but you're so wrecked. Like, the idea of trying to work on your business or try and do something would not even enter my mind. Like, I would just go sit on the couch and watch trashy TV. But what I've found through, honoring this process and dedicating myself to it, it changes your mindset, and it gives you this resilience, and you have to go through the process to actually know what I mean, but you just show up better, and you just mentally, like the physical side is one thing, but mentally, like, I mean, I do some pretty long hours now, and that's my own choice, but I love what I do, and I would never been able to do those hours or give the same thought process to what it is that I'm now doing. And the change in my business over the last 2 years has just been like that, because I think when you're in the best version of yourself, you're kind of giving the best to your team or your husband, wife, your kids, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
So I'm a big advocate for what you guys do. It's like honestly life-changing. I think so many people, I was one of them, underestimated, I can't go spend, $1,500 on whatever, or $5,000 on a plan. But I think everyone needs to, like, it's so important, especially for business owners, the amount of stuff that we deal with on a regular basis.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it just gives you this grit like no other. It's been quite a journey.
Yeah, and if you think about, like, the kids nowadays call this your aura, right? That's a good word going around, but like, it's confidence.
Completely.
Like if you're a business owner and you walk into a meeting, like, and you feel in shape, like you're following through on what you say you're going to do and all that, it's insane the change that can happen in somebody, because you're going to walk in with your shoulders round, your chest up, you're going to have better control over the room. Like, you can be the same person in terms of your skill set at work, which makes you a great operator, but something about the way you carry yourself, where then it's like, okay, this is a different version. You command more respect and everything. And this might get me into hot water, but I think most people would agree that it's true to an extent. Like, we all, even subconsciously, judge people on appearance.
Of course we do.
Right? We judge ourselves, we judge other people. So if you walk into a room and you look like you've got your shit together, like, you are going to command more respect,
100%.
more confidence in your abilities, even though it's nothing to do with how you can execute on your job. If you look like you've got yourself together and you look after yourself and that you're a good operator, they will believe that quicker than you can tell them with your words, right?
Totally. And it's funny you mention that, because I've noticed a massive change in how I'm perceived. And it's most bizarre. I look at photos, and I'm just sharing this because I want listeners to understand how, like, incredible what you guys do is. Like, you look at yourself, because I often do reflection, and it's like a completely different person. Like you say, your vibe is just completely different. And I actually feel like I've got my shit together.
Yeah.
I'm not like half groggy Tracy, just kind of floating around and, like, binging and eating crap. So it's such a transformation that one goes through. So or when you're surrounded by high performers, what's one pattern you see that quietly sabotages them over time?
Oh, that's an interesting one. Again, there's loads of avenues I could go down with this, but in the initial stage, like, of those people who come to us and they're on a health audit to discuss where they're at, it's that they're not really tracking what they're doing in any sort of way. Like, they might even have a Garmin or an Apple Watch. Yeah, I've got one of those things. Yeah, don't really look at it though. And think of how many decisions you make, regardless of where you are in an organization, whether you're a manager, whether you're just a standard office worker in a bullpen, or whether you're top of the tree. Like, you're always looking at some sort of data to determine your next step, what you should do in the day, how something is going, or how a campaign's performing, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You look at that all the time in business. But when it comes to our health, we just assume that our head hits a pillow so we sleep well. Oh yeah, fall asleep pretty easy. But there's a million different things we can look at in terms of your sleep and your schedule and everything else. You assume you're not stressed because your blood's not boiling every minute of every day, and you're not, shouting at people in traffic or snapping at your kids. But that doesn't mean there's not stress there. Let's face it, we like to get back to homeostasis, and if we start something new, it's very stressful. And then after a while, we get used to that level of stress in our body. It just feels normal. Same way if somebody gets punched in the face, the first time you're going to be like, this is stressful. This guy keeps punching me in the face in a boxing sparring scenario.
Yeah.
And then after a while, like, you can get punched in the face in a spar, and then you just sort of walk through it, sort of thing, But at the start, it's very scary to get hit in the face, right? So our body gets used to these sort of stresses, and, we don't even realize we're maybe stressed, or we're not really tracking the data around. Yeah, I train 3 times a week. Yeah, great. But is that having the outcome and the return on investment for that time and energy you're putting in?
Yeah.
Could you be doing something better? And people just don't look at the data around their health. They just assume I'm healthy because I'm functioning, I'm
Yeah.
alive. I wake up and I'm breathing and I'm healthy. But that's not always the case, you know? So I think that blindness around the data, at least at the start with people we speak to, they're just not aware of what to look at or how they can maybe impact that, and how powerful the data is in terms of real behavior change and real positive health outcomes.
That connection you've made there, because I mean, again, for someone like yourself, it's kind of obvious. Like, look at the numbers, but even in business, I used to avoid my numbers. How stupid is that?
Yeah, yeah.
My advice was like, Trace, you need to look at your numbers. No, it's too stressful. I can't deal. But then obviously, once I realized the value in looking at your health's no different. Like,
Yeah.
you need to know what's kind of working, what's not, where you're lagging. I have to ask, Garmin or Apple? Because I copped so much shit about my Apple Watch. Thanks, Karen. And I love my Garmin now, but I
Yeah,
still have
okay.
my Apple. What's your view?
The Apple Watch is designed to be a mini phone, right?
Sure.
My issue with it for a busy executive is you're already busy. You're running your business, or you're running the company, or you're somewhere in the company. Do you really need to have every message, every email, everything that happens on your phone pinged to your wrist where you're getting distracted? Because
Yeah.
like the stats are, I think it's something crazy. Like every time you get distracted on a task, it takes you like 20 minutes to
I've
get
read
properly into
that.
the flow. And if this thing's dinging on your wrist with everything that happens on your phone,
Yeah.
then there's an issue there. Like I would rather my phone become like a brick during work hours, and we can talk about that later, the apps I use and things to stay productive. But like my phone now is pretty much like a brick. There's no social media, there's no nothing. And I think when it's on your wrist, it's so distracting. Like, how are you ever going to get anything done and be actually productive in the day?
Yeah.
And some people see that as a skill of, I can tell if I'm needed to do something. But what about the task you're meant to be on right now?
Yeah,
Why is
fully
that?
focused.
Yeah, what's happening there? And I think the Garmin's better because you can turn that off and on. And obviously you can do that with the Apple. But Apple's got so much on it now that I don't think you need.
Right.
So I would prefer the Garmin. I think Garmin is great if you're a runner, like obviously you are, and swimmer. If you're doing any sort of endurance sports, the GPS function is fantastic.
Yes.
So if I'm doing any swims or runs or long walks, I would put my Garmin on. I used to be an Oura Ring guy because it was probably the most accurate in terms of sleep. But now since January, we've moved to the Whoop.
Is that what that is?
Yeah, so
right.
it's like a watch without a face, right? So
Sure,
it doesn't
I saw,
ding,
yeah.
it doesn't do anything. It's just tracking my stress levels. It's tracking
Right.
my sleep. It's tracking a whole host of data, including steps, rest and heart rate, body temperature. Like it'll tell me last week that I was getting sick when I had a little bit of a bug. I think it's just that next level. And the reason why we partnered with Whoop is because we can plug it into another software device, which means we can see if Tracy goes on as a client and she links her Whoop, we can see it live. We don't need
Right.
you to send screenshots or fill in another bloody spreadsheet, you know?
Yeah.
Which for a lot of our guys, that was a pain of getting us their data from the Garmin or
Sure.
the Apple Watch or the Oura Ring or whatever. And they all have their positives.
Yeah.
I guess the main thing is if you love your Garmin now, that's fantastic. You're going to use it for a lot of your runs. So it's I would
Yeah.
say for you, what I know about you, being a runner and everything else, perfect watch for you.
Yeah.
And as long as you're consistent with wearing it and you know, here, that's my HRV, this is my rest and heart rate, this is how I sleep, great. You know, it's finding the right one for you. For us, it's probably the Oura or the Whoop personally because
Yeah.
of what it tracks and the metrics we're kind of looking at and how accurate it is in terms of sleep and stress, which is our two main metrics that we do want to track in executives. But as long as it's something that works for you, that's the main. Like, we don't push the Whoop, we include it in our package, or we'll
Sure.
say, listen, you don't have to go find it. We'll just send it to your door as part of what we charge.
Nice.
But that doesn't mean that everyone gets the Whoop. Some people are like, I love my Garmin. Can I just use this? And yeah, cool. You just have to send some screenshots or we'll work out a spreadsheet sort of way to get it across. But just be aware that we can't automatically pull from that like, you know, we can with the Whoop. So
Yeah. We've got a rapid fire round. So what I'm going to do is mention a word and then I'd love for you to explain what it means to you. So the first one is disciplined. What does discipline mean to you?
discipline means a set of habits and routines which free up you mentally. And we spoke about this briefly yesterday on my podcast when we interviewed you. But the more disciplined you are with a task, and all discipline means is that you know what you're going to do, when you're going to do it, and you've got a system for doing that, in my opinion, right? So we were talking yesterday about meal prep. Like, for me, and this maybe comes from that physique development, bodybuilding route, like, I could just go and grab something on the go here, like we're recording in the city. I don't have a meal with me. I could just do that. But I know
Yeah.
I've got a meal at home that's prepped that hits X amount of my proteins, carbs, and fats for the day, and it's even split through the day. And having that discipline of knowing there's a meal at home, I'll finish this and I'll drive home, and that's the first thing I'll do is eat.
Yeah.
And my eating times are loosely scheduled into my calendar. Obviously, they can move slightly if something important comes in. But I know 11:30, 4 o'clock, like that's my sort of 2 eating times during the day. I know what I'm having for those meals. I've prepped them in advance. They're in the fridge or freezer, depending on what I need. And I know exactly what I'm going to be doing. And that's very freeing because I don't need to think about food now.
Yeah.
I know what I'm going to have. I know what I have for breakfast is the same as yesterday and the day before. And yes, I may change the foods up, but if I did change something up, I would do it the night before and be like, cool, I've ran out of this. What do I have to do to get where I need to go? And I would already have that planned. And that means I'm not living my day. Like, think about the amount of decisions people make, Tracy, on a day. You got to work. What are we going to wear like for this podcast? What am I going to do with this thing and that thing?
So many.
And then you're thrown on top of that. You're literally leaving your office at 12 o'clock and you're like, right, where am I going to go? I imagine if I didn't have discipline around my food, I'd be walking downstairs and be like, do I want sushi? Do I want to go to a burger joint? I'm going to go to Subway.
Yeah,
like,
exhausting.
It's more decisions that you don't really need to be making. And like, the science says there's only so many decisions you can make in a day before that decision making quality drops.
Yes.
So if I can have a little bit of discipline,
yeah.
like in certain areas of my life around training, around, you say, bedtime, around phone use and things like that, like that's freeing to me because I know what I do in each scenario, and I know it means I'm not thinking on the fly, and it's another thing that I just don't have to think about.
Yeah, and I found when I was thinking on the fly about food, I just grabbed like fast food crap because I'm just like, oh, I can't think. I'll just get what I'm, familiar with. But doing the meal prep, as we discussed in your podcast, if you guys haven't checked it out, the Elite Executive Podcast, you have to have a look. It's just kind of takes that weight off for the week, just dedicating that Sunday afternoon, even just putting a roast on, like all it requires is that prep and you shove it in there for 2 hours or whatever, and then you've got a meal for the entire week. So it definitely frees up the headspace, and you're actually putting proper nutrition into your body instead of grabbing a packet of crisps and a chocolate or, along the way. So,
and if you learn how to cook, like seasoning things, like meal prep is simple. It takes me 40 minutes to cook all my chicken for the entire week.
Yeah.
And then I put the rice cooker on twice, and that's like, say, 10 or 12 meals in the fridge, in the freezer, pull them out when I need to. All right. And if you cook well and you can add the right things in, like it tastes good too, right? It's not like it's bland, boring, plain chicken and rice. It's like it's got seasonings, it's got stuff done to it to make it more appealing. So. And
just want to highlight, you're a business owner and you've got 2 children, another one on the way. So it's not like you have an abundance of time either.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, exactly.
Direct. What does it mean to be direct?
To say what needs to be said with no filters, I guess. Like, obviously you wouldn't want to offend somebody or say something that's terrible or, I guess, politically incorrect. But like, we mentioned this yesterday, again, coming back to our episode because it's so fresh in my head from yesterday. Like, if you tell people that you've lost 22 kilos now, and you've got you've got Paul, and you've got other friends around you who are there, you should be able to say directly to somebody what you need to say without the ability to offend them. Like if, for example, life gets busy, Tracy stops meal prep and she stops running, and the kilos start creeping back on. Like, they're not going to say something initially because it's going to be like, oh, it might be a blip.
Yeah.
It's going to get to a stage where they're like, you don't seem as vibrant, you don't seem as healthy. You're like, are you looking after yourself, sort of thing? And like, you should be able to have those conversations regardless of the topic. I'm just using that one because it's in my head from yesterday. But you should be able to be direct with people and say, oh, I don't agree with that, or my viewpoint is slightly different, and being able to, as long as you can articulate it in a way that makes sense and doesn't offend and isn't like isn't there. I think there should always be the ability to be direct, especially as a coach. Like, we have to wear many hats as a coach. Like, I can be your best mate and be like, yeah, mate, just let's try to clean this up for next week. Or I can put my boot up your ass and be like, mate, you're not doing what you said you were going to do. Like, you showing up to these calls, which is great. I appreciate that. You're doing your check-ins. You're giving us the info. But you're not following your food. Like, what's the issue here? Why can't you just, like, I don't care what you eat, but just eat better and eat a little bit better than last week. And you need to be able to be, as a coach, you need to be direct, but also be loose and be friendly at the same time, and just interchange those hats, I guess. And
sometimes it's that boot up the arse that I need.
Yeah, of course. Of course. And I've got a big size 12 Irish boot here that I frequently put on people's arse, you know, but
Completely.
yeah, you just need to be, I think the world needs, and again, this isn't getting into, you know, politics and everything, but we're so afraid of offending people now. Like, and it would never be my goal to offend somebody, but we also have to have the ability to say what we think and say, you know, what's really going on, and just have that conversation from the right place of, you need to increase your performance, you need to do something better. You said you were going to do this thing, but you haven't really followed through. And I think we're kind of losing that ability to be direct because we're so afraid of cancel culture and like getting called out on things and whatever. Like, everyone's entitled to their views, everyone's entitled to go about things a certain way if they need to get an outcome, whether it's motivating your staff, whether it's motivating yourself, whether it's getting input from a coach. Like, you need to be, you have to have that in your toolbox to be able to be direct, you know.
Totally. It's funny that you mentioned that. Karen, my running buddy from Thursday, is a good friend of mine. We were having the same conversation this morning. Like, the world is, everyone's different, right? So you're allowed to have these different opinions, but it doesn't mean it takes away from what you believe, you know? And she had a really good point. She said, if someone does start, like, you know, acting out of place because of what they believe in, it kind of makes you question if they actually believe in what it is that they stand for, right? There was a few more things that was politically related, so I won't bring that up. But yeah, it was just an interesting viewpoint, because I was like, yeah, if you firmly believe in something, like if someone shares an opinion, or if you're on a path, like a coach, for example, and they call it a fucking spade when you need to hear it, because sometimes that wakes me up. Like, that should be a safe space as well, you know. But yeah, 100%. We have gone into this zone when we're too scared to say X, Y, and Z out of offending someone or, you know, triggering someone. And yeah, I guess people can be somewhat offensive, but I also think we need to be open to that feedback in order to become better humans at the same time.
Of course, yeah. And if everyone knows that it's coming from the right place, say, listen, I'm not meaning to offend you, but like, I think you could do these 1, 2, 3 things better. What's your thoughts on that? Like, it's better than just saying, hey, you're shit at doing this, right? Like, it's a different conversation. But like, even if somebody said to me, hey, you're actually shit at your communications here, and this has happened before where I've dropped the ball and maybe haven't checked in on somebody as often as I should. Great, mate. Actually, you're right. Like, let me try and fix that, and let's get where we need to go. And that's where actually we've got a 3-phase accountability approach with our guys. Where we have check-ins and regular calls built in automatically, because sometimes people would miss a check-in because they're busy, or life gets in the way, or they're sick or something, and they just fall off the wagon. And because they're not checking in regularly, like, you sometimes just forget to reach out to them. So I'm like, well, how can we bulletproof this so that we do that? And that's an example of somebody being direct with me and me taking it on the chin and being like, okay, he's got a point. Let's improve this and let's make it better, you know? So being direct is never, in my opinion, getting something direct is never a problem. The problem is if you can't take it on the chin and then improve from it. Yeah.
The last one is data obsessed. I know you've briefly touched on this already. What does that mean to you?
Well, it's the opposite swing of what I talked about earlier, where people were data unaware, I guess, for lack of a better term. And I think, well, what we can see, Tracy, and I spoke to another client who's been with me probably on and off for 2 or 3 years now at this stage. Data can be incredibly freeing because you can see the trend. Well, why do I feel this way? What's happening here? But it also can swing the opposite way. Like, if you get really anal on your sleep and you're trying to improve your sleep so much, then worrying about the data can actually stop you from sleeping as well.
Sure.
So what we try to do is get, and this is where I'm at, and I guess this is where I would like everyone to be, is teach you about the data, teach you about your start point, teach you about where we might want to get you to, what those targets are for REM sleep, deep sleep, total sleep, HRV. Obviously, that's going to be relative to the person, but we do have targets in terms of like sleep and even rest and heart rate and different things like that that we want to get people to. Educate you on that and help you work out a plan and different lifestyle interventions to improve those scores, but also then input where the score is not dictating how you feel. Like, if you wake up in the morning and it's 4:30 and like you're sitting in the bathroom and you open your Whoop app or your Garmin app and you're like, oh, that was a terrible sleep. Suddenly everything you do throughout the day is based off you having a terrible sleep. You don't have energy. You're not in a good mood. You maybe might not have trained that morning. But if you wake up in the morning, you're like thinking to yourself, how do I feel?
Yeah.
What's actually happening? So I feel like I slept well. Great. Okay, cool. What's the data saying? Whether you look at it at that stage in the morning or whether you say, I'm going to go train and I'm going to go start my day, and I'll look at it on coffee break at 10:30 or whatever, and you look at it a bit later in the day, at least you started your day, you've done something positive based off you knowing internally that you felt pretty good. And I think there's that line where data is great, but we can get bogged down in it a lot. And if it then becomes a hindrance where we're not training because the data looks bad, or we're not having that internal focus with our mindset to actually say, what's happening here? How do I feel? Then you will get data obsessed, and it can actually hold you back in some cases.
Yeah, it makes sense. What would your advice be to a business owner who knows deep down that they have been putting their health on the back burner, and they just know that they need to make a change? Apart from reaching out to you guys, what would be the first step they can take?
There's again a million steps it can take. I would what is the biggest problem? Like, is it asleep? Are you waking up in the morning and you feel terrible and you've got shite energy, right? Like, for example, Matt Rigby, I'll mention him by name because he's an absolute legend. He came in, he lost 29 kilos, like I mentioned, right?
Wow.
The first thing was obviously it was going to take him a while to get into rhythm in the gym and with his food and everything, because he was coming from an unhealthy place. When we looked at his Garmin data, because again, this was somebody who loved the Garmin watch, he was getting 3 minutes of deep sleep when we had our first call. Now, the target should be somewhere between 90 and 120 minutes. So imagine if you're having 3 minutes of deep sleep a night, how are you going to be waking up in the morning? So the first thing with Matt was, yes, we'll put a training plan in place. Yes, we'll put a nutrition plan in place. But like probably 98% of our clients, it's like that stuff doesn't need to be perfect from the get-go. That will improve as we go through weeks 1, 2, 3, 4, and we'll get better through our conversations there. For him, it was, how can we put the lifestyle intervention, so from lunchtime essentially, we could start looking at what he does through his day, including through work times, caffeine intake, stress levels, phone usage, everything that happened from sort of midday the whole way to bedtime. And how can we then put things in place? And for Matt, it was a case of within a week he was sleeping an hour and 3 minutes of deep sleep instead of 3. It was weird that it was exactly an hour, but like he then stayed at that the whole way through. So imagine waking up, he's now got an hour extra deep sleep, ergo more energy for training and nutrition and work and everything else.
Yeah, you show up better.
So that was the first thing for him. But I think you need to have that deep dive and say, well, what is the real problem here? If it's that you're 30 kilos overweight, it might be that you need to get some better habits around food, and you might need to just download MyFitnessPal and go from there. If it's that you're just a slave to your job and you try to eat quite healthy but you're not training, do what Matt did. Go and join the first gym that you see and just be like, I'm just joining. Yeah. You just got to identify what it is for you personally and what is the next step to greatness. And I had a conversation with a lady yesterday. She didn't sign up. She was talking to me and like really in depth about personal life and issues there, work life and issues there. And I got into my slide deck talking through, this is how we deliver it. Because I always like to work off a slide deck, because then I'm on point and I'm like, I'm not missing anything with how we do things. So I got to the end of it, and normally the question is, now, does that make sense? And would that be useful if we put all that together? And she paused. And I said, it's okay if it's not. It's okay if that, like, it's too much, or there's an element that you think, you know, wouldn't work for you. And she's like, I don't need this. Like, I actually just need a buddy to go for a walk with me and start doing that. I think that's the first real step. I think this would be overwhelming for me. I was like, great. As long as you've now identified that that's the thing that you need to do. And she was like, I'm going to go send an email to 2 colleagues at work and get them to go for a walk on Friday at lunchtime. Yeah. It's like, that's positive. And then you can build on that and you can get healthier, and that might encourage you to eat a bit better and do this. But it's not always like the coaching element. It's a case of, what is the best thing for me right now? Is my issue with sleep? Is my issue with stress? Is it my issue with training, nutrition? Identify it down to what it is there, and then identify the one thing you're going to do next and do that. And then if it's training, you go to the gym, you sign up. Yeah. And then you go back the next day and you jump on the treadmill. And then maybe a week later you decide, I'm going to venture into those weights areas and just have a batter ride. And then maybe after 4 weeks you hire an in-person PT in the gym, and you take it step by step. What is the next logical thing I need to do to keep progressing? And if you do that, you're always going to get the right outcome, because you're picking what is the level 10 problem and you're addressing that first. Yeah.
I've come across a few of my friends, and ladies in particular, they're nervous to go to the gym on their own. Do you come across that?
I think that's the case with guys or
Yeah.
or girls, you know.
Yeah.
And
So
the gym
both?
can be a bit daunting. I think people get a misconception about the gym, you know, and I've said this for years, especially when I was a PT, it's always part of marketing, is that if you go to the right gym, the environment's there and the people there should be there to train. Like when I'm in the gym, yes, I'll look at people. There'll be people all shapes and sizes
Yeah.
and creeds and ethnicities and whatever. Doesn't matter. Everyone's generally there to train hard.
Yeah.
Now, if you walked in as, say, an overweight female and you've got, let's say, 22 kilos to lose, that's your story,
Yeah.
right? And you see me and I'm doing leg press or bench press or something, and you're like, oh, he's slightly bigger than the rest of the guys. Maybe he's a bit intimidating, or somebody's a big bodybuilder and they're
Yeah.
like twice the size of me, right? And maybe you catch eyes with that person. You're like, oh, fuck, that person's looking at me. I'm really self-conscious.
Yeah.
That person's in their own head. They've got their headsets in. They're listening to music or a podcast or whatever they're doing. And they're probably just scanning the room, bored, waiting to do their next set.
Yeah.
And they just happen to clock eyes with you at the same time that
There's
you're
no
clocking eyes with them, right? And they might think to themselves, why is that lady looking at me? Like, what am I,
Yeah.
do I look okay? What's wrong? Like, but it's that split second. And, you know, obviously people may judge each other or whatever. But I think in the right gym environment, it can be really powerful because everyone's there to train hard and there's no judgment and they're all just the same. I used to work at Doherty's gym in East Perth, and it's a big bodybuilding gym.
Sure.
And that's why I picked it. Right? I wanted to train at this. It was the only gym chain I knew about coming from Ireland to Australia. I was like, this is special, right? And you walk in and there's bodybuilding pictures on the wall and the walls are painted black, and it's, you know, it's good music, but it's not Taylor Swift on like at Revo Fitness or anything. And sometimes that environment can be better for people, even though initially it's daunting. You go to a Revo Fitness with, you know, thousands of members and you're not seeing the same faces, different faces every day. Maybe some people are there to just, you know, have a bit of fun and, you know, they're not really training as hard sometimes. That can sometimes be daunting as well, like more daunting than going to the big scary bodybuilding gym, because the atmosphere is different. It's more corporate and sterile versus, you know, a gym where everyone's just there to train really hard and everyone's here to make themselves better.
Yeah.
And that's what I found is people come in and there's 90-year-old people in there. There was ladies who are overweight. There was the huge bodybuilders who were 2 days out from a bodybuilding show who look insane. But everyone's there for the same mission, and sometimes that can be less daunting than going to what you think is the safer option.
Yeah.
Because the environment and the individuals are maybe, you know, slightly different, you know.
So would your advice be maybe try a different gym? Because I like how you've reframed that it's supposed to be like an environment of inspiration, motivation.
Yeah.
So if you find like it's not the right fit, try somewhere else.
Yeah, I think, you know, like I recently re-signed at another gym. I sort of changed gym and went back to a gym. And they were like, oh, do you want to do, it's cheaper if you lock in for a year or do month to month, and say it's like $5 extra a week.
Sure.
I'm like, I'll do month to month because I don't know what gym I want to train at. Like, I love that gym I train at, but I'll do the more expensive option where I can cancel in 30 days notice rather than know that I'm locked in for the full year. And if you are a bit nervous, that might be a really good idea rather than go for everyone naturally, see a $5 a week or $5 a month or whatever it ends up being. But if you are worried about that, at least you got the option to change and you can try things. And like Matt was like, Matt needed to go to the first gym because he's like, I would have talked myself out of gyms and got a bit paralyzed otherwise. But for some people, maybe going and saying, right, there's 4 gyms there, I'm going to go to all of them because I'm a bit anxious, but I'm going to make a decision by the time I've left the 4th one. I'm going to go sit in the car and decide I'm going to go sign up from that. So you maybe spend an hour driving around and seeing them and then make a decision. That could be what you need to do. But I think environment's a lot, whether it's a business environment, whether it's a gym environment. And if you are surrounded by supportive people, like it's not just the bright lights and the equipment, it's like what is happening in that gym and that environment, you know.
And for the ladies, we do not have to go to gym with a full face of makeup. I think
No.
maybe they're there to pick up, not do workouts.
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Oh, I can't think of anything worse. I'll just go with my man bun. But anyway. Oren, what's one belief about health or performance you've completely changed your mind on?
There's not one size fits all. You asked me that, 5, 6, 7 years ago, it would be, yes, physique-based training. Like, if you look at bodybuilders, and this is just my background, but whether you look at Arnold Schwarzenegger or you're into the current scene or whatever, like, think of Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like, you think of the man now, of course, but he got everything that he got because he was one of the best in the world at getting big and getting strong and having huge changes in the body, how to excel a body. And a lot of the times bodybuilders are ahead of the science, where science is essentially just you've got a theory about something and you try it out and you see if the results match. That's what bodybuilders are doing all the time in their quest to get the biggest, the leanest, the fastest, the strongest, like, around. And my theory would have been that everyone needs to do that, but they don't. I just did 6 months where I did Fit Stop for 6 months in Carnop. My wife went and, you know, she could bring somebody on a Saturday, and I resisted for so long. And then I was like, I went to a free Saturday workout and I was like, this is cool. It's different. It pushes me out of what I'm normally used to. It's still got the weights element, which I think you need to have. But there's not one size fits all with nutrition, with training, with anything in life, really. And there is a million ways to skin a cat. And I think, like, you do intermittent fasting, which I've done in the past. I've done longer fasts. Great.
As well.
Not everyone needs to do that. Some people feel terrible on that. Like, some people will struggle to get all of their calories and nutrients they need to get in that feeding window. And if they train in the morning at, say, 6 a.m, that's, you know, potentially a long time. If you're like, say, a man or a woman focusing on maximum muscle, that's a lot of time from when you train to when your eating window starts. That might not be the optimal thing. Now, if you wake up and you feel like you're not impacted by that and muscle gain isn't your ideal goal, and you just feel like, I am sharp, I am on it when I do fasting, like a lot of people do, that's the perfect thing for you to do. Because you've got a different goal and you've got a different outcome and a different training time. So I think probably that's the biggest thing that's shifted, is that there's not one size fits all. It's not our program. It's not anyone else's program. There's a million ways to skin a cat. And that's why I guess I'm more open-minded to things now. I think as long as somebody has a balanced amount of training, like the science shows you should be lifting weights, like for muscle and bone strength and everything else, which naturally declines a huge amount as we age. Like for every 10 years, I think it declines by 10% or something like that. Same with VO2 max. So you need to have strength work in. The British Journal of Medicine, I think, shown that, you know, if you strength train twice a week, I think it was, you will have like a 20% less chance of dying from any cause from just training twice a week. So you need to have strength training in. Doesn't need to be bodybuilding, doesn't need to be powerlifting, just needs to be moving weight and trying to increase that weight and increase what you can do over time. You also need to have a blend of cardio in, whether it's, you know, you just go for regular walks and that's enough to be in that zone 1 to 3, that's enough for good cardio health. Or you then spend some time in those zones 4 and 5, that high intensity, like consistent run time when the heart rate's going to get up and you're going to stay up. You obviously need to do some mobility work and you need to stay mobile as your job and your life's going to dictate, you know. You need to have a balance with that, but whether you do that from bodybuilding training or CrossFit or running with a little bit of weight training to make sure you stay injury proof, there's more than one way to skin a cat, and as long as you have the right steps for you, that's what's going to work.
Yeah, and I think assessing those steps as well, because I obviously did the intermittent fasting to lose that initial weight. So I did that for about 18 months, but then obviously started running, and then you need more calories. I was starving. I was like, oh my gosh, I can barely focus. That to chew my arm off. So I've since started obviously having breakfast again, because I do the running along with the weight training, and I find it feels so much better. And also if you're trying to tone up a bit, because the running, oh my gosh, you lose so much muscle from it. So I think it's important to kind of assess, would I be right in saying that? Assess your plan 100%. As you kind of reach a goal, and then what is it that you want to do?
Perfect example. Your goal changed and you're like, I'm training early, I'm doing some weights here, I'm doing a longer run potentially, which is going to still, people think that, you know, weight training is what breaks down that muscle and you need to replenish it, but you'll burn through a lot of fibers as well from running, like you mentioned, and if you don't replace that protein, you're going to lose the muscle mass, which as we age we don't want to do. It's going to have negative outcomes in terms of posture, in terms of bone density and everything else later in life. So like you need to just have that balance and reassess like what's working for you now. And I think that's, again, coming back, like that conversation, as well as the guys who are like, oh, I know what I need to do, I just need to go and do it. The people who say, I'm good, I train 3 times a week, I do this. Yeah, cool. But is that getting you the return on investment you want for that time and energy? And have you recently thought about the time and energy you're pumping into this and potential money you're wasting doing X, Y, Z that could be redispersed elsewhere, you know?
Yeah. And something else for me, from my experience, is my relationship with food. So obviously because I had done the intermittent fasting, I was very mindful, because I was on this whole health kick, very mindful of what I was eating, but then obviously upped the exercise. And then I was almost scared to eat because I'm like, if I eat, am I going to blow out again? So I think it was just from a psychological, mental well-being point of view, just making sure, like, you know, having that nutrition plan that's going to actually honor my exercise plan. It's not going to make me stressed and I'm going to put the weight on, because I think once you've lost that much weight, you don't want to go back to what it is. But I was almost in a bad place because I was like, I don't want to eat because I don't want to put on the weight, which is unhealthy, right? I'd kind of gone like the full extreme. But that's why, you know, working with a coach or having a nutritionist or whatever the case is actually gives you a plan that's going to help you with reaching those other goals. So, because otherwise, I think like I did, you almost go to the too far extreme. Well, I was having mostly coffee and like scrambled eggs and a protein shake for the day, which is not good for anyone. So I had to, there's so many different angles, I guess, when it comes to a health journey, right?
Yeah, and there is extremes. Like some people still believe you can't eat after 6 p.m. You know, last night I took a picture of it. Actually, I had, we talked yesterday about one of my last meals is like a tuna sandwich or a yogurt bowl. So because I've got a decent amount of calories there with my goals, it's evenly spread over the day. I've still got a lot of carbs and a little hit of protein to get there. So last night, 250 grams of yogurt, 40 grams of granola, 150 grams of berries, and 20 grams of peanut butter over the top, and 2 biscuits on the side. And this was at 8 p.m. last night.
Oh, wow.
I woke up this morning and I'm down a kilo from last week, despite eating a lot more than last week.
Interesting, right?
So, like, it's not a case of there's rules or things like everyone needs to fast, don't eat after 6. What we find is most executives are either undernourished or overnourished, meaning that they're either eating way too much because they're eating fast food, or maybe they're not eating regularly enough, and then gets to 2 o'clock and they're like, shit, I'm so hungry, I'm going to go to Macca's and just have whatever, or like they're not making the right decisions. Yeah, I know that it's not
Makes me so sick.
Not my ideal. But that's common, right?
Yeah.
Or they literally just overconsume through the day, or they get home in the evening and they've barely eaten anything, they've lived on coffee and adrenaline to get them through their day, and then they have a big binge in the evening, or maybe they're scared of eating in the evening as well because carbs after 6. There's always an issue. And you know, this was one of my most popular videos probably, which my buddy keeps pointing out. He's a coach as well, but he's like, mate, that video you did like really blew up. And I was talking about this idea that we're either malnourished or undernourished. And like, we will often skip meals because we're busy, we've got a meeting and we've got this and that, and we don't schedule the time in. But imagine if you had a teenage kid, right? And they came home from a shift at McDonald's and they said to you, oh yeah, it was okay today. I had to work through my lunch break. I haven't eaten anything. I'm starving because, you know, we were so busy. I wasn't allowed to take my break. Your response to that kid would be, you go into that manager tomorrow and tell him that you are entitled legally to have a lunch break, and that if they don't give it to you, you're going to make them regret it, basically, right? You would be like, that's not on. But with ourselves, it's okay for me to skip a meal because I've got a really important presentation, or I've got this or that. We can rationalize. We're smart people. We can rationalize the reasons why we shouldn't be eating. But if the shoe was on the other foot and it was somebody you loved, whether it's your husband, your wife, you know, whatever.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Your dogs, for example, you got 2 dogs. Like, if you're gonna feed your dogs at the time you're meant to feed them every day, right? And you're gonna make sure that they don't miss a meal.
Yeah, it's a good point. Right? Guilty as charged. Yeah. I often will, you know, I'm busy. I mean, sometimes I forget to eat because I'm so busy. So it's a very good point that you raised. Was that like a long form video, like a reel that you did?
It's a reel that popped up. I can maybe share it with you.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you want to share it, that'd be great. We can tack it on to the end of the episode.
Yeah, cool.
Which should be good.
Yeah,
so because that's a really good point. I hadn't thought about it that way. So.
Yeah, and it's sometimes you just need to reframe that with people. Like, is this behavior acceptable in another scenario? And if it is, like, whether it's, you know, talking to somebody in a direct way, like we mentioned, is that appropriate behavior? Would I like my daughter to be talked to like that or whatever? Or if a friend came to me and said, you know, they're not looking after themselves, what would you tell them? And a lot of the times it's the things that we know we should do as well. But why is it okay for us to preach that to somebody else, but then we don't put steps in place for ourselves, you know?
So true. I feel like we could talk for hours on this.
We could, mate.
I'll go to our out-of-the-box questions. So what's something you track about yourself that most people would think is totally over the top? If there is anything.
Track. I guess some people might think, you know, being regimented and tracking your food to the gram and doing all that, like, oh, I can't do all that. Like, you know, for me, that's just data. Like,
Yeah.
I put X amount into my body, protein wise, carbs wise, fat wise. What happens to my weight? What happens to how I look? What happens to how I feel? That's just data to me. So that seems the norm and how I would operate. Some people might think I'm absolutely batshit crazy for that, right? Like sleep, like I don't overly obsess on sleep, but looking at your sleep, some people might think we're crazy for that as well.
I check mine.
Yeah, I think there's going to be people out there who, no matter what we do, that people are going to be like, that's absolutely insane. They can't imagine themselves ever tracking food or being at the gym 5 times a week or whatever it is. But I think the more data you have, the more informed you are, and what gets measured gets managed. And, you know, if you can manage as much as you can with your performance and your health, then you're going to be in a better place mentally and physically. So why wouldn't we do that?
Yeah, I think it was one of the podcasts that I listened to. This person said, you know, if you think about the food you put into your body, like, it actually speaks about how seriously you take yourself. Like, if you're constantly just eating crap and drinking and carrying on, like, do you actually take yourself seriously? And I was like, that's such a reframe.
Yeah.
You know, like, think about what it is that you're actually putting into your body and what impact that's having on you.
Yeah, and if you think about it, if I told you now, Tracy, like, go and make banana bread. You might know how to make it from scratch, like without looking at a scale or doing anything, but you're probably going to weigh out the right amount of sugar, the right amount of flour, the right amount of everything to make the perfect banana bread. Otherwise, it's probably going to be terrible, right? Like if you just throw a lot of sugar and flour and however many eggs in together with, you know, X amount of bananas, like 12 bananas, like it's probably not going to be the right ratio of everything. And it's the same with our food. Like people are like, that's obsessive to weigh out, you know, 150 grams of cooked chicken in a meal. Yeah, cool, but it's me creating a recipe to have the health and performance outcome that I want. Same way, like following a recipe to make a shepherd's pie or a banana bread or whatever it is, you know?
And if it's banana bread, I'm getting my mum to make it because I've got a banana allergy and I'll swell up like a balloon. Or if your clients could hear the soundtrack in your head during a 6 a.m. check-in, what song would be playing?
Ooh, so... me checking in on myself.
Yeah, so what song would you have playing?
I'm gonna go right now with the song that's always on in the car with my kids, which is K-pop Golden. That song that's all over social media.
Oh, I'll have to check it out.
So there's all these reels going around about how, you know, these bodybuilders or these extreme guys or these, you know, people used to rave, you know, like, oh, this was me 10 years ago and I'm raving and, you know, this and that, and then now it's like my car drives and it's the kids singing in the back to this song.
Got it right.
And they're surprisingly catchy. Like whether it's like I'm a big Disney fan. Like I grew up loving Disney.
Same.
Like Pixar, everything. The kids are now watching all that stuff, and I can nearly sing word for word. I think I taught when my daughter was like 3 or 4. She used to sit in the back, and I would sing the whole of Under the Sea from Little Mermaid, and I would sing it word for word, and she could hear slowly picking up what the words were. Yeah. And then she said to me one day, like, I love it when you sing along because like it's teaching me the words.
Yeah.
Because it's probably something like that, really. It's something catchy that I've heard the day before.
Sure. Under
the Sea, or You've Got a Friend of Me from Toy Story that just will be on repeat.
It's not Baby Shark. Oh, my word. My nieces and nephews. I'm ruined for like 2 weeks when I hear that song.
Oh, well, we've now got 6 and 4-year-olds, but we are now, as the time of recording, I think we're 8 days out, 9 days out from baby number 3, the due date.
Congratulations, yeah.
So Baby Shark is going to be coming back in my world very quickly. So ask me that question in a year,
you.
Tracy, and it is probably going to be Baby Shark again.
I don't know what it is. It gets stuck in my brain, and I'm just like, I cannot stop singing this stupid song.
I haven't even heard it, but I bet you it's going to be in my head.
Oh my gosh, don't listen.
Later.
Do not listen.
No, just you saying that, it means it's going to be in my head.
Like every time with my nieces and my nephew, like, I'm ruined. What's the most ridiculous thing you've done in the name of optimal performance?
Probably that photo shoot example. Through ego, through I need to lead from the front, I need to see this through. And I'm glad I did push through to get those pictures and show everyone who was on the team at the time that I am leading from the front, that I am doing all these things, being a dad and being a business owner and being that. Like that inspired a lot of people to do their best and to push for new levels. But also it was a bit crazy. Like I'm visibly noticing, yes, I'm in my best condition, but like energy's in the toilet. All I wanted to do was sit and watch YouTube videos rather than business development. That's a bit crazy to me, like where you push things so far, but also there was a reason for it, right? Like it was what had to be done.
And when you say photo shoot, do you mean like a bodybuilding photo
Yeah,
shoot? Right,
so
okay.
we had a photographer in the gym, and it was me and a pair of shorts and not much else, and like doing some gym movements and poses and different things, and documenting that, and having clients come in, and photographers getting ladies and guys to lay in certain ways or pose in certain ways, and they were getting their own photos as well as a result, you know. So but that, in hindsight, that's like I think there's always going to be the goal of wanting to be lean, but like, and I'm currently in a phase where I've just done an 6-week diet or whatever, 8-week diet to get a bit leaner. But then there's taking it too far, and there's that, like I said, that sweet spot. And I guess that's where I'm trying to catch with clients now is get you to the stage where, yes, you have the performance and you're feeling better, but then also having those conversations week in, week out, when you actually do your check-ins and you actually do the work of where's too far. Like, and again, I've talked about Matt 100 times, but his initial goal was to get from 114 to under 100.
Yeah.
And he got to 99. Cool.
Incredible.
Right, let's push for 95. Cool. Hits 95. Yeah, I think I'm going to go for 90.
Yeah.
And then 90 was meant to be the end point. And then we got to 90 and I was like, how are we feeling? Yeah, I'm feeling good. Do you want to push for 85? If you don't get there, that's fine. Like, let's see what happens. And he got to 86.5. And then it ended up being like, he lost pretty much 30 kilos and was like, yeah, now it's time to reverse out. Let's use some time to build that through, because to push to 80, yes, he might have got really, really lean then, but that lived experience in me of how's that going to be? That's, you know, and I guess that's what we're trying to catch now with people is where can we actually get that balance of everything so they don't push too far, that they are performing at work and for the family, but they're doing everything that they want to do with their physique, you know? So
And again, I feel like we could speak for hours. What advice do you have for someone who is thinking of starting their business or is perhaps in business and they've kind of hit a bit of a ceiling?
Two completely different scenarios, but I guess there's always going to be signs about whether it's time to start a business or whether it's time to change something in the business. Like, for example, we are always reevaluating price points, and we're like, right, that's not working right now. Like, lots of people are saying it's too high or it's too low or whatever. If we have an incredible month and everyone pays in full, and that's a sign that the price is maybe a bit low, let's give it a nudge up because the market is telling us that things are improving. If it's, you know, nobody signs up or we get very low adherence rate for, say, a pay in full and everyone wants to break it down, cool, what's happening with the market? Is it a bit harder for people right now? Do we need to pull our price down temporarily and do some sort of a thing? If ads aren't working, you know, how many leads are coming in? What's the cost per lead? There's always going to be signs that something needs to change. You just need to open your eyes and identify it. But I think, again, you mentioned yesterday you had a sign 3 times you need to start your business.
Yeah.
I think it's being aware of the signs around you is probably my advice. Is it time to start the business? What's the world telling you? What are people telling you? What's the signs from a higher power or whatever it may be? And within your business, well, why is things down? Like, what's going on? Like, what does the data actually say in terms of, you know, sign-ups and everything else? And do you need to pivot in a different direction, or do you need to get some advice from a branding expert, a consultant, some sort of sales expert, for example? Like, what do you need next to break that ceiling? There's going to be signs around you. You just need to look for them, I guess.
Yeah. And quickly, please tell us about your podcast as well.
Yeah.
Last question, I promise.
The podcast thing is, it's a bit of fun. I was just talking to one of the guys, he's a mate of mine who does some coaching work as a consultant for us. And I was like, this has been a cool couple of days because I feel like I'm not working. I did your podcast and I did another one yesterday, and I'm podcasting today. It's work, but it's not working.
It's so much fun. I love it.
Yeah, and it's for me, it started out of COVID again. So around that time, like all the business mentors, there's multiple ones that were sort of big at the time for the fitness industry, and they were all like, use each other's audiences here, like go live with a friend who might have 4,000 followers and you have 4,000 and have a chat. And I was like, cool, who would I do that with? Oh, cool. My best man at the wedding was a PT who worked at the gym that I was in at the time in Glasgow. Let's jump on, and he's got X amount, say 7,000 followers. I've got 5. Let's jump in and do something. So we just turned on the live and we just basically chatted nonsense for 40 minutes. During COVID, people were like tuned in. We had like 30, 40 people watching live, and we're like, people were commenting, oh, this is great. You're talking about industry stuff and like stories about each other and different things. And I was like, that went really well, actually. The feedback was good. Can I download it? I think you could at the time. I don't know if you can now, but you could download the live as an audio file, or a video file or whatever.
Cool.
Downloaded it. That became episode 1 of what at the time was the O Show. And that was one that my business mentor did. Like, why don't you call it the O Show? Because, like, you know, you're O,
like
you know? So we then ended up doing I think it was over 100 episodes of the O Show, which was my way of acting dumb. Like, I knew a lot in the fitness scene about physiology and training and nutrition, but I would get on people who had a particular niche or had a skill set or a knowledge base, and I would just act dumb, and I would just be like, tell us about why you do cardio if your blood pressure's high, things like that, right? And I was just the facilitator, essentially interviewing the experts. The guests were the experts. And that was great. I loved that we did like 4 seasons, because obviously you get a bit burnt out with it, maybe, perhaps. And then I can't remember the exact date, because it was like recorded, and I think it was a while before we launched, but around 22, 23, we launched the Elite Executive, because we were like, well, this is the avenue we're going down now. It's not just generic fitness and training and, you know, bodybuilding, physique development sort of content. So I was like, well, I've done this before, and I'm relatively okay at being a host, you know. So
you're great.
I was used to that, but I was like, if this is me, what do I want the podcast to be, at least initially? And it was, well, why don't we work out the main areas that we work with people on? So training, nutrition, stress management, and sleep. What if we did an episode talking about me and my journey and why we do this with executives? And then the remaining 4 or 5 episodes after that are going to be about 30 minutes about training only, nutrition only, stress management only, and all the things that you could possibly do and think of, and where's the science based at the time. And have those where they're a reference point that maybe pulls people in to get better in themselves. But then also what to look for. Like, we've got an episode, I was using Oura Ring at the time. They relaunched new features. It's like, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the actual data on the Oura Ring.
Sure.
Like, what are we looking for if somebody just goes out and buys one there and doesn't have us in their corner? So it was very much knowledge driven. And then as we went through, I think I had Matt on. I was like, let's come on and talk about the journey and everything else. I had another client or 2 on. I was like, there's a lot of people in our network. We work with a lot of very interested individuals. So I was like, why don't we get clients on and talk about their journey? Because then they essentially do the selling for us. They talk about their journey, how they implemented health, where they were at before. And I was like, there's so many other business owners outside of my network who maybe have their own methodologies. Like, you went down the gene testing route, which is completely different to what we do. That doesn't mean it's wrong. It's very interesting regardless.
So interesting.
So why don't we talk about your journey with health, but also with business, and then start to interview people. And then it's morphed. Again, I'm the host. I'm not directly putting a lot of knowledge out there, but I probably want to change that. Like, a lot of the knowledge from my side probably comes in from having a conversation with Tracy and John and Peter and whoever else might jump on. But the knowledge from my side comes in of, oh, that maybe worked because of this, or we find that a lot of our guys do this, which is similar to what you've just mentioned. But a lot of the knowledge now comes from, well, how does Tracy operate? What's her tips? What's her ways? Because there's a million ways to skin a cat, like I said, and it has evolved into this now interview process, which I think provides a lot of value, because it's different voices, it's different ideologies, it's different thinking, it's different methods of doing things that could be completely different to how we operate. And, you know, like I said, there's a million ways to skin a cat. So let's have the guests be the business owners be the hero again, with me guiding the conversation. And I think in the back of my mind, I do want to get back to me just recording content, whether it's every so often, every 3rd episode might be, hey, here's why we're partnering with Whoop now, which I don't think I've done an episode on, but here's what we're looking for in terms of the data. Here's what you're trying to influence and how you might do that. Refer back to episode number 3 if sleep is something you're interested in. And it's kind of evolved, but it's still really fun, which is something I love about it. You know, it's connecting with people like yourself, and it's like, are you keen for a podcast? Do you want to jump in? You know, and, you know, people are fascinating. People have amazing stories.
They do.
It's great to connect with people. And I think you really understand somebody after you sit down with them.
Yeah, so true.
And, you know, regardless of, you know, I mentioned before, like, I can be very critical of myself as a host and did I do the right job? And sometimes you come away thinking I could have done a better job there. And then the guest is like, oh, I loved that yesterday. Thank you so much
you were great yesterday.
for doing that, you know?
Yeah.
So it's a good way to just get people out of their shell and get their knowledge down in a way that people can learn from. And I'll probably keep doing it at a reasonable rate until I burn out from doing it, so, and in which case then I might have to get somebody in to take over it, because it is gaining traction. We do have good followership on Spotify and that, and it is growing. And I don't want to be a Joe Rogan one of these days. I just want to be
I do
the local Joe Rogan. You're going worldwide, huh?
Yeah, hell yeah, I'm taking over. I'm going to be the Bunnings of branding, and the podcast is going to be on there. But I know I said this to you off air yesterday, but I think you're a great host.
Thank you.
There's definitely a skill to it. Like, I've been on some podcasts where the conversation hasn't been navigated as well. So I'm going to say to you, so you can replay this when you're done yourself. You're a great host. You made, I was really comfortable. And it's also about holding space, right? For someone to feel comfortable enough to share something or share their most vulnerable and deepest, darkest, moments. So I think you're excellent at it. So yeah, keep it up. I love what you're doing.
Thank you.
Odhran, where's the best place for our listeners to go should they wish to connect with you?
LinkedIn is probably where I'm most active. I am on Instagram, and you see me post occasional stuff on my story and thing, but our target market is on LinkedIn, so that's where you'll get me the easiest. So if you go to, it's actually, we've got the right slug on there so that people can find us easily. It's linkedin.com/in/executive health coach, and they can find me. Or the business page is the Elite Executive Health Coaching on LinkedIn.
Perfect. So we'll pop all the links in the show notes below. And for the listeners who don't know, my health journey started with someone suggesting, I won't say any names, almond milk. Let this be your almond milk. Have you tried almond milk moment? Because I cannot explain the profound impact that this health journey has had on myself as a leader, as a human, and as a business owner. So please reach out to Odhran and connect with him, and put yourself first. Thank you so much.
I appreciate that. Thanks.